Hi everyone, from All the Right Movies, you're listening to ATRM Meets, the movie interview show where we talk to people in entertainment about their favourite films. On today's show, I'm talking to the great John Doe. John is a musician and founding member of seminal LA punk band X. With over 40 years in the industry, John has released over 20 albums with X and as a solo artist, covering a wide range of musical styles. He's also a prolific movie and TV actor, appearing in films such as Salvador, Roadhouse, Great Balls of Fire, Wired Up, and Boogie Nights. He's back with an outstanding new album, Fables in a Foreign Land, and here to talk about some of his favourite films. Thanks for coming on the show, John. How are you doing?
Oh, good. How are you doing, Luke?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, fantastic. Great to have you on the show. Thank you.
Well, thanks for asking me. I don't get a chance to talk about this except with other friends who are cinephiles, and it should be fun.
It should be, yeah. Fantastic. And you've picked out some great films to speak about as well.
Well, should I just get right into the first film?
We'll give it a moment or two, and then we'll get it.
Oh,
I can see that you're eager.
No, I just want to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
It's dispiriting to listen to podcasts where people just talk about BS. It's like, really? Is that the best you can come up with? Don't you have an editor? Yeah, but anyway.
Our podcasts often go beyond two hours, so maybe you might be saying that about our podcasts.
Oh God Almighty! No, I'm. It's going to be a gas.
Yeah.
It must be late there though, or is it very early?
No, it's very late. Well, it's very late, I suppose. It's just past 11 o'clock at night.
Oh my gosh, way past my bedtime nowadays.
It's worth it though.
Yeah, good. I'm thrilled.
So where are you speaking from, John?
I'm in Austin, Texas, from my home.
Very nice. So I actually spoke to a musician who lived in Austin, Texas about 3 or 4 months ago. He's called Pat Byrne. He's an Irish singer who moved over there a few years ago. So small world, strange coincidence.
It is a small world. There's a friend of mine who sings in an Irish band called Gaelic Storm,
right
here, that do very well in the U.S.
I mean, it seems as though it's the mecca or quite the hub for musicians and music in Austin, Texas.
Well, they're self-named the live music capital of the world.
Oh well, I mean, how can you argue with that?
Well, it's one of those things that I think they just said, okay, from now on we shall be known as, and just said it, and then put in a little bit of paperwork or something, and then then cool. You're that. It's like,
all right.
I think you could,
maybe I could try that for here.
Yeah, you could. You could say, they do that in the U.S. like with National Pepper Tree Day,
right?
Just something obscure, National Light Bulb Day, and if you do it and you fill out some paperwork, then it can be like
that can be the thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
National Guys Named Luke Day, and you can all celebrate. Good. Yeah. It's weird, but yes, Austin has a embarrassment of riches when it comes to musicians, especially in the kind of Americana, Western swing country, outlaw country type music. It's great.
Fantastic. So coming to you live from Austin, Texas, we're going to talk about 3 movies that John has picked out. How would you categorize these, John? Are they 3 of your favorite films or ones that have just stayed with you over the years?
Definitely ones that have stayed with me. They're different genres, but they still have that hero's journey, even if it doesn't end up well. When you say pick 3 movies, it's daunting. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yeah.
So it's just like, these are the 3 that came to mind, and I thought, good, let's just go with that.
So what about the first film then? What's the first one that you've picked out, John?
First movie is Out of the Past.
Fantastic. Yeah, written by Daniel Mainwaring, adapted from his novel, directed by Jacques Tourneur, and released in 1947. Out of the Past stars Robert Mitchum as Jeff Markham, an ex-gumshoe who is forced out of retirement to repay a debt owed to feared mafia heavy Whit Sterling, played by Kirk Douglas. A cross-country tale of cross and double-cross. Jane Greer plays the femme fatale at the heart of Jeff and Whit's nefarious relationship. Why are we starting with this one, John?
I think it's on many people's list of maybe the most representative, most famous film noir movie, which is That's one of my favorite genres.
Yeah.
I actually, I don't do a whole lot of acting these days because I'm pretty busy with music, but I actually got to play the lead guy in a remake of DOA, the Eben O'Brien movie from
Yeah, I
'49.
saw that on the internet while I was doing a little bit of research, and I was quite
Yeah.
interested to find out a little bit more about that.
Well, if there are any North England distributors and or representatives that would like to take on this movie and distribute it, we'd be happy to entertain and offer. No, but for Out of the Past, I mean, Robert Mitchum is just the quintessential anti-hero. I don't give a shit, no matter
Yeah,
what you say. And it's his natural demeanor that just sells
yeah,
the whole thing. I did some research on him just because he's so cool and he's indescribable. I mean, he
yeah.
said,
He's
he was talking
incredible.
about it. Well, he was talking about people going to acting class, going to school for acting, which is, maybe the difference between U.S. style and
Mhm.
British style of acting. He said something like, "Learning to act is like learning how to be tall." And some of the, I mean, he has so many great quotes. He's like the Georgie Best of
Yeah,
fucking quotes.
yeah.
Another one was when I decide whether I want to do a movie or not, I find out how many times I have to fall down and what kind of accommodations I have. Hopefully, I can be looking at water. Um, he's just it's great. And in this movie, it's really Jane Greer who's
Oh,
kind of
she's
making
amazing.
making all of it turn. I mean, she is the
Hmm.
one who's at the heart of everything, and the men are just kind of like they're just trying to catch up. But
Hmm.
at the same time, she's also willing to change and do and be anything.
She's so convincing what she's
Yes,
saying that you think,
yes,
oh, she's turned a corner, but then it's double cross and then a double cross and then a double cross.
yeah. I mean, right up to the very end, and
Yeah.
yeah, and Kirk Douglas, you can tell that he's so tightly wound, and
Hmm.
you can tell that the acting styles are very very different,
Yeah.
and they probably didn't like each other, and that was good
Yeah.
in real
Certainly
life.
pays off for the film.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and the cinematography is great, the script is great, the story is great because it always keeps you on the wondering what's going to happen, even if you know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
You're still watching it develop, and it's very clever in that way.
I think on a first watch, there's no way you could know what's going to happen from one scene to the next, even on a second, third, fourth, because it does get very confusing about
Yes.
what's going to happen or what already has happened or what that links to come the second half of the film. But it's a magnificent film. I was riveted.
Yeah, and I probably watched it. I've probably watched that 5, 6, or more times.
It's incredible. Roger
Yeah.
Ebert called it the greatest smoking movie of all time because there's just plumes of smoke in every scene.
Yeah, I try to convince my partner that people look cool smoking, and she's not having it. But I still say, no, look at that. Look
This
at
is
that.
the
No,
evidence.
and yeah, she's just glad that I quit smoking a long time ago and never had
Yeah.
to put up with that. But yeah, people do look cool when they smoke. Are you kidding? Look at every French
Yes,
film, for God's sakes.
of course.
Well, Roger Ebert is correct. I
He
agree
is.
with him on that. Yes. The also the kid who plays the his friend, the deaf and dumb kid,
Oh yeah.
is so he's so natural.
And being able to convey those emotions without any dialogue is really effective.
Yes, yeah, and it's also set in one of my favorite places, which is an epic area of California, up along the Owens Valley on the eastern side of the Sierras.
Hmm.
I would stack that up against any place in the world of dramatic and epic sort of places. And
Yeah.
that corridor along the Highway 395, it goes past Mammoth Mountain and through Lone Pine and Bishop and up to Bridgeport, and it's still very sparsely populated, and
Hmm.
because it's hard living up there. It's very harsh.
But it looks incredible, stunning, really
Yes.
dramatic.
Oh yeah.
And there's quite a road trip taken. There's San Francisco twice. He's down in Mexico, New York, LA, Lake Tahoe. It's a real sense of location. Even though I'm certain that a lot of these were sets, you do feel the miles traveled.
Yeah, the part in Mexico when he first meets her was it's just, that would be a scene to we could talk about. But the way that they shot that was just brilliant because you believed it, and if you believe that, if you believe that premise, there's a reason why all this shit is going down.
Of course.
Then you're in. Then
absolutely.
you'll believe the rest of it. And that's something that some films don't actually achieve, that crucial piece. And if you don't buy into that crucial piece, then it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
She's not that good looking. Or she's not that charming. Or he's not that, great.
Yeah.
He isn't that, it doesn't strike you in that way.
So what about a favorite scene for this one, John? Are there any that stood out for you?
I think when he I don't know exactly. It's towards the 2/3 or 3/4 way through when Mitchum confronts Jane Greer, and you think that they've resolved it. I can't even remember exactly what it is, but it's the point at which, after you've been fooled and fooled again and then fooled again, and she's changed, you finally think that she's going to be true to him, and he does too, and then they plan their kind of getaway. That moment there is so, because he's been burned, but he still has that core belief, maybe from the time they spent in Mexico.
Yeah.
And he's so skeptical of everything. He knows that Kirk Douglas's character is going to do everything he can to get him, but he still has this hope, and maybe it's the hope that I'm attracted to, the hope and the fact that Jane Greer is so convincing.
Yeah. I mean, there's the moment where he's been framed, but he hides the body in the closet and then goes back, and she asks the porter to go up to the hotel room to check on the guy to prove that he's not there, to prove he's dead, or it must have been Robert Mitchum's character.
Right.
Yeah. And then they come up with that plan, and you're convinced. You think, she's on the level now, but no.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic.
I never stopped hating him, Jeff. I couldn't help myself. I was caught, too. We don't have to be against each other now.
Aren't we?
No. We can break out of it. All we need is the briefcase. And we've got them, Jeff. We can get anything we want from them.
I'd like that affidavit you signed.
We can get it. It's in Neil's office safe. We can make Mita get it. We can make them do anything.
Sure.
Okay, well, we'll move on to the next one, John, if that's all right. We'll move on to Black Stallion.
Yes, the Black Stallion. I owe all the people in the Black Stallion a great debt, because it was one of the movies that I could watch with my children and did not cringe.
Yeah.
A little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But the Black Stallion, take it, Luke.
Well, released in 1979 and adapted from the 1941 classic novel of the same name, E.T. writer Melissa Matheson has a screenwriting credit, Carol Ballard on directing duties, and Francis Ford Coppola as producer. It stars Kelly Reno as Alec, a young boy left stranded on a desert island after the boat he was traveling on with his dad sinks. He strikes up an unlikely bond with a wild horse on the island, and when rescued, brings it home with him, where their relationship grows. So, Black Stallion was a surprising choice, shall I say, John. Not that I know about your tastes, but just considering the year that it was released and how old you would have been at that year. And then I thought it must have been something to do with watching it with your family. Is that right?
Yes, but I didn't start a family until I was maybe until 10 years later, 9 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved it from the very beginning, and a big reason is because I am a horseman. I have horses. I've loved horses for 40 years now. But it's the soundtrack. The soundtrack is the cherry upon the ice cream sundae. It's just, and Hoyt Axton blows my mind because he's so natural, and he's such a like, who doesn't want a dad like that?
Yeah, so warm, and isn't he?
Yeah, but he's a rascal, and he's he's just gambling shit, and then but once Mickey Rooney comes into the picture, it's a little different, and I can't say that's my favorite part. I do like Mickey Rooney. I think it was kind of awesome for him to have that opportunity
Yeah.
at that time in his life. And I give them a lot of credit for that because he totally sold that. Then it becomes a little more predictable, and even though it's set in that time period that is so appealing and stuff, but it's the first half of the movie that is everything to me.
Yeah, it's wonderful that location, the cinematography, and like you said, it's Carmine Coppola's music. It's Francis's dad, and that you can feel that from the first moment where they're on the boat. Those musical cues that really build kind of intrigue and tension. Don't really know where the story's going to go, but I certainly didn't anyway. And it just, a surprise the first time I'd seen it, and I was hooked. I was in immediately.
Yeah. And the I don't know. Did the kid do any other movies? I'm not even. I didn't.
Don't think
research.
so. No, I'm not there. Well, I briefly looked, and from what it looks like, this was his biggest star and his biggest role. And I believe he did all of the the majority of the horse riding, the bareback horse riding on the saddle on the beach.
Yeah,
and you can tell from the shots.
They went to a bunch of horse barns and said, "You got any good-looking kids out here? You got any good-looking kids out here that can ride?" I mean, they certainly didn't teach that kid how to do that.
No, it must have. Yeah, he must have known.
I think it strikes a chord that is so deep in every. I mean, my daughters felt the same way. Who wouldn't want to experience that moment? As dire as it may be, and as sad as it may be, and the way that they shot and told the story of how sad he was, realizing that his dad was probably gone, and they took those moments. They took those moments to draw you into the kid's character, so you could see the rest of the movie from that perspective. Maybe that's another one of those pivotal points where they really pulled you in slowly and delivered. Because what a dream. What a beautiful dream to have this companion, and the fact that there was so little dialogue. There was like no dialogue for the first after they get off the boat for so long. Brilliant, just brilliant.
Visual storytelling from that perspective. I think it's about 30 minutes where there's no dialogue. Incredible.
Really? Wow. I wonder if there's any other films that have done that except for silent movie.
There was a one that I watched because of an interview like this. I spoke to Brendan Benson, who's a musician, and he chose a film called Quest for Fire, and it was set in Neanderthal times, and that has literally no dialogue.
Right.
Yeah, that was the only one I could think of.
Well, there you go. But then, once it gets into the modern times, what's her name? Oh God,
Terry Garr.
Terry Garr is just luminous and but has the grit. She's not just a pretty face. No, and she has that. She's tough. She's going to take care of this kid.
And there's that wonderful moment where he's trying to convince her that he would run in the race, and she won't have it. And he tells this really emotive story about how the black saved him in the water, and it's really gut wrenching because you get to understand, like verbally, how that made him feel. Whereas we never found that out before. We just dealt with it through his tears and his emotions, but to hear it from his mouth, it was really quite affecting.
Yes. Well, that could be one of the scenes we talk about, but I would say the it is the hero's journey, and it does have that happy ending, and it like I say, there's a few movies made for kids that you can watch without cringing, and that are my kids are older, so they hadn't kind of cracked the code of making cartoons watchable and funny and things like that as well. It was more Disney princesses, and it's like, oh God, please can we not watch The Little Mermaid again? But The Black Stallion did me a great favor in that I loved horses. I loved just watching this, and hit all those right beats, the right moments.
And favorite scene, John? What if you can cast your memory back?
Probably Hoyt Axton coming back from the poker game and giving him the little statue of the black stallion, saying that he won this from the guy from Arabia, and the warmth and the pocket knife thing and all these little elements that are going to are going to play into the to the rest of the film, but this kid who you're going to be seeing the movie through has such a solid footing in his relationship with his dad.
Here, I better take that. You're a little too young for that. Ooh, look at that watch. Man, here, I better take that. That's a pretty watch. You know, I think it's about time I got myself another knife. So I ought to give you this. And never know when a knife might come in handy. You want some gold? There's lots of gold. Ooh.
Okay, so final choice, John. What's your third film?
Frozen River.
Fantastic. Written and directed by Courtney Hunt and released in 2008. Frozen River stars Melissa Leo as Ray, a mother of two struggling to make ends meet during the holiday season after her husband skips town with her house deposit money. She strikes up a criminal relationship with Native American Lila, played by Misty Upham, smuggling immigrants over the Canadian-US border while trying to keep her family unit intact. Yes. Why did you go for this one, John?
Because it didn't seem like a movie. It seemed as if it was a documentary and you happened to be able to get all the juicy bits. Not one moment seemed false to me. Not one moment seemed like, oh, come on, you set that up. And it was also around the time of The Wrestler.
Yes.
And I remember people, just going crazy about The Wrestler, and it was good. And, Mickey Rourke acted his ass off, and it was amazing. Yeah. But it was a movie, and you could see that it was a movie. And I had seen Frozen River just before that, and I thought, well, really, if you want to talk about people living on the edge of poverty, people living on the edge of that desperation, and I've seen that. I luckily haven't been that desperate, but I've been around that when I lived in the mountains outside of LA. I've seen, from when I was a kid in Baltimore, things like that, and it was so dire, and it conveyed that so convincingly, and the way that it forced people to do things they wouldn't ordinarily do.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been aware of Melissa Leo prior to that. So that might have been part of it as well, because she obviously had done a lot of work, but she hadn't had a starring role like this, and she just left it all on the field. I mean, she didn't hold back one bit. Yeah.
Big themes about all relatable race and social issues, but social themes including family, all really relatable and all very, I mean, I know this was only 14 years ago, but still now as prominent as it was then.
Yes. And the relationship that she had with her son, which was, a teenager and really fraught, because he just wanted to have, some food.
Yeah.
And something of a normal life. Is that too much to ask? But they're living in that shitty trailer, and they're, that it was just all so convincing. And her relationship with the Native American woman from Canada seemed to be out of the blue. You had no idea where it was going to go.
Yeah.
And the fact that they could only do it in a certain period of time, and it was so dangerous. Yeah. It was just brilliant premise, incredibly well told, well acted. The dialogue never seemed forced or stagey, and like I say, it just seemed as though you were watching something that was real.
Yeah,
never took me out of the reality of the movie.
Yeah, like you said, it feels as though things come out of the blue, but not once did I think, well, that's a bit contrived. Everything felt like a natural step, and everything, all the writing in it had been set up to make you believe that these are the choices that these characters would make. I didn't once think that Melissa Leo's character was going to be a human trafficker when the film started, but within 20 minutes she is.
Yes,
because she's desperate and she needs that money for the house, and she's being let down by her husband.
Yeah, freaking deadbeat.
Yeah. What I think left unsaid on that is the assumption is, the belief is that he's left and he's gone to Atlantic City or whatever, but because of his addiction, we don't necessarily know. He may be lying in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. It's the latter. Pretty questionable character. A questionable character. I'm trying to think of a other parts of it. It's been so long since I've seen it. This is a movie that I probably only saw in the theater once.
Yeah, well, the scene that really stood out for me was when there were one of the border crossings where the family from Pakistan bring a bag in the car.
Yes.
And Eddie, and Melissa Leo character, is suspicious of it, and she throws the bag out halfway through the journey. It kind of exposes the kind of ignorant prejudices that go on in the world, and then it turns out that it's the couple's baby, and they go out and get it, and they think it's dead, but it starts moving. Thank Christ for that.
Yes.
That tension and turning the mirror on yourself. What would I do in that situation? But it's all about family, and it's relatable because she's got a family. What would happen if it was her children?
Yeah. I'll go with that.
Great
but
choice.
I also I do recall there were some scenes between her and her son in that trailer that were so difficult. They were so hard, and you wanted them both to be okay. You wanted them both to be to get what they wanted, to be right, to have some comfort, to have just the littlest bit. And it was so much want and need, even though they wanted and needed each other, but they couldn't, because it was the life had cut things down so that it was just literally bare bones. Well, I wish that Courtney Hunt would have done many movies like this. I'm looking at my phone and seeing that she only did one other film, which is insane.
And I think it starred Keanu Reeves, and that was about 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh God, the poor thing.
Such a talent, and I would love to see if she was to do something else. I would. I'd go see that in a heartbeat, because if it's anything like this, what she did on, I think it's $1 million budget, just the writing and the direction from a first-time director-writer is pretty incredible.
Yeah, well, those were the days, I guess.
Yeah,
when you could get $1 million for a first-time director and do a movie like this. Aren't they all works of passion? Aren't they all, just every indie movie is for the love of it.
Yeah.
Labor of love.
Yeah, and if you can feel that on screen, which you obviously can with this film, it really brings you into the story. You buy into those characters and buy into the message that director or writer is saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Here. How much money?
I still don't see why you won't just let me get a job with Mitch.
Who's Mitch?
He's got this whole business he runs at school.
He sells pot to kids.
No, Mom, it's computers, okay? He fixes computers.
You're 15. It's not gonna happen, so forget it.
But this is so stupid. We're gonna lose the TV while I'm sitting in some Christmas assembly when I could be out making
Your job is looking after your brother. Who's gonna take care of him?
This episode of All the Right Movies is sponsored by Foul Play, a true crime podcast. Foul Play is a long-running true crime podcast that has earned rave reviews. The new season of Foul Play takes an evocative trip through time to America in the 1800s to detail the extraordinary life of evil mastermind H.H. Holmes, who is regarded as America's first known serial killer. Foul Play traces Holmes' steps across the country, uncovering his life and crimes, including a possible new victim from Indiana, which would have been his first female victim when he moved to Chicago. For your next true crime fix, Foul Play is the obvious choice. You can listen to Foul Play, a true crime podcast, on all major podcast platforms and at itsfoulplay.com. The link for the site is in the description for this podcast. Thanks to Foul Play, a true crime podcast, for sponsoring this episode of All the Right Movies. Okay, so just to wrap us up here then, John, I've got a few quick fire questions for you. Just the first answer that comes to your mind. Don't think about it too much. Just throw out whatever you've got.
My intuition is on 10 right now.
Okay, here it comes. So, first question, which musician would you love to act with in a movie?
Tom Waits.
Fantastic choice. In a film about your life, what songs would be on the soundtrack?
Tangled Up in Blue.
Ooh.
Mother-in-Law by Ernie K. Doe. And, something from West Side Story somewhere.
Fantastic.
I think that's the name of the song. Yeah.
Great. And which actor would you have play you in that film?
Oh God. Who's just dumb enough? Who'd be dumb enough? Viggo Mortensen.
Oh yes, great choice.
No
offense, Viggo.
No. Viggo and I go way back because we were both married. We were both married to the same woman at different times.
Oh really?
Yes,
right,
we were.
Right.
We were both married to Exene. And
right. Wow.
I'm very lucky to have him, to call him a dear friend.
Incredible actor as well.
Yes, he is. That was actually one of my other choices, was History of Violence, which was just before Eastern Promises.
Yeah.
And
Cronenberg.
I thought, yeah, great movie. Anyway.
Yeah, fantastic. And yeah, he's fantastic in it.
Yes, he is.
If out of the three that you have chosen today, John, if you could save just one of them, keep one of them, say, for example, on a desert island, which one would be yours? Which one would you save?
Oh, it would be Out of the Past. Hands down.
Great. And finally, if you could choose one of your songs to play as the credits roll on that film, which would it be?
Oh, there's a song that I did called Worried Brow. And it's just saying, it's talking to a woman that he just wants to ease. I just want to ease your worried brow.
Great choice. Or
no, I'm going to choose one from my new movie. I mean, from my new record, which is called Where the Songbirds Live.
Fantastic. That's not a single yet. That's not one that's out yet. That comes out in a couple of days.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy.
Lovely. Well, I mean, it seems like an appropriate time then to discuss your new album, John. It Fables in a Foreign Land. It comes out in a few days' time, end of May. Can you tell me a bit about that? Because I've listened to the singles and I've had them on repeat. I am obsessed with El Romanzo. I cannot get enough of it. I love it.
Oh, good. It's a bit of an earworm, I think, the chorus.
Yeah, it's magnificent.
Well, long story short is that it came to me, the title came to me in a dream, and I started thinking, I don't normally work backwards like that. I don't do concept and then work backwards, just sort of things develop and then I write them. But I started thinking about this character, El Romanzo, which is sort of Spanglish. It's not really Spanish or English, but then through life, there are people that you know that exaggerate, and then you start catching them in basically exaggerating about something that you were part of and realizing that, no, it did not happen like that. And then you might think that they're actually just liars. And then you start questioning your friendship with them. And if you're smart, you just end it quietly and move on. It's also set in I had this whole record set in a pre-industrial time. So it's just someone who is constantly exaggerating. And then I asked Luis Perez from the band Los Lobos to write a verse in Spanish. And he added a whole other element to it, which is I can be your best friend. I'm going to steal your heart. You better be careful what you say. And then when he leaves, people don't know why or how he left, just that he was a liar. So he made an impression, but it was a very, very bad impression on the people. And that's the long story short.
It's a great song, and I'm very excited for the album. There's a lot of buzz surrounding it, and there's been a lot of kind words being said in the reviews that I've read over the last week or so. So yeah, can't wait to hear that.
Well, let me know if you have a record player, and I'll figure out how to send you an LP.
Oh, wonderful! Well, I do, and that would be magnificent if you could. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And you're touring the album. You've got a string of dates in the summer and some dates with X later in the year, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult going back to work. We just play. We had some dates that we did in December. Pretty much everybody in the band got COVID, even though we were vaxxed and boosted and all that stuff. And it sucked. Luckily, nobody had hard symptoms. They were pretty mild. But, you're out again and you're in the thick of things and you have to wear a mask. And we just did 3 dates in Southern California. And luckily I came back. That was my number one job, is not to get sick and bring it back to my partner. But I'm of course excited. I want to play these songs for people. X has got a pretty long tour with the Psychedelic Furs, who are one of my favorites. And They made
Great.
a new record around the same time, or released a new record around the same time we did in 2020, which is a fantastic record made of rain, is what it's called. And
Okay.
it's good to have a job during the lockdown. I actually thought, oh, I guess retiring wouldn't be so bad if I could afford it, which I can't. But yeah, it's weird. It's a very fraught. Because some people think, oh, the mighty plague is over. It's like it's not. It's not over.
It's not
people.
really. No.
Yeah.
As safe as you can while you're on the road, John.
I will. You can count on it because I don't want to get sick.
Well, John, thank you very much for coming on the show. I'm a big fan, and it's been a huge pleasure. So thank you very much. Good luck with the album and the tour.
I wish I could say we're going to be in Newcastle, but not yet. A couple of great times in Newcastle. As I walked out of the pub, dodging the puddles of what, especially on a Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah, that sounds like Newcastle.
Yeah, people warned me of that, and I thought, oh no, this is just an exaggeration. And it was brilliant. I loved every moment of it, and it was brilliant and sad because it was cold, and like the women had like short skirts, and it was like, oh my God, what weird alternate universe is this? It was just cinematic. Yeah. They would say,
very cinematic, very cinematic. I can think of a few other words.
yeah, crazy.
Great. Right. Well, thank you very much, John. Absolute pleasure. Take care.
The pleasure was mine. We'll see you soon. Bye.